take a look at how to configure the monitoring and archiving policies. So I'm in the console here, logged in as administrator. I'm going to go down to monitoring and archiving. So for call detail recording, if you go into the global policy here, you'll notice that everything's enabled. So enable monitoring of call detail recordings and enable purging. So basically going to keep the call detail recordings for 60 days in the SQL database. And same thing for error reporting. So you can crank this up and kind of control this here. You're going to see when we go through SQL reporting services and look at all of the reports that are out there, there's a wealth of information in terms of call detail recording, statistics about calls and things like that. So really rich amount of information. There's a lot of information, so there is potential for it to eventually fill up your databases. So that's why this purging is enabled out of the box. So you can configure this here, and then again, if you need to, you can create a new policy based on a specific site if you wanted to kind of break things up in a large environment. So for quality of experience, similar kind of configuration, there's a global policy, and we're basically enabling monitoring of that quality of experience data and purging as well after 60 days. So quality of experience is more, how was the media quality when you were on calls? Was Lync detecting any kind of issues? So you can also use the monitoring infrastructure to give you an idea of, maybe you have one branch site that has kind of a sketchy type of WAN connection. And you could figure that out by using the monitoring ports and quality of experience information to let you know that, hey, most of the Lync calls of that branch have been of a poor quality, and the monitoring role will capture that information. So that's turned on by default. So really the only thing you have to do if you don't want to, now we have global policies for this as well. So let's go into the global archiving policy. And basically what I'm going to say here is I have the ability to archive just internal or external or both. So I'm going to go ahead and choose both. That means that if I'm doing instant messaging, internal and out to the internet with federated partners and people on public IM networks, if I have that enabled, that'll all be captured. So I'm going to commit that. And then for the archiving configuration, this is another global policy where I want to come in and say, let's go ahead and archive IMs, and we'll also archive web conferencing sessions. So for example, if somebody were to share out a PowerPoint presentation during a web conferencing session, I could capture that information. And then we have this option here, which is kind of interesting, that says block instant messaging or web conferencing sessions if archiving fails. So this is something that, if you're very stringent in terms of legal compliance, if there's it's an issue writing that information to the SQL database, then you can block the IM from continuing. I'm not going to enable that here, but it's kind of an interesting option. Now, again, you have the ability to purge archive data. By default, when you enable that, it's going to be 14 days. There are also some link management shell commandlets that you can do to export the archive information out as well. So I'm just going to go with the default here and go ahead and commit. So in a basic environment, that's really all I need to get the monitoring and archiving roles set up and starting to record data. Next, we'll look at how we actually report on this stuff through monitoring and the archiving server.